Namaste and welcome. I am Pratim Ranjan Bose and you are listening to my podcast Perspective. In this episode, I'll share my views on the curious case of Indian Railways importing wheels from all over the world and the urgent case for reforms. Unprecedented infrastructure push by the Narendra Modi government created ground for rapid growth in domestic manufacturing. The industry has yielded part of the benefits as is visible in the rush of orders to engineering companies. However, a lot of domestic value addition opportunity is also wasted, as is evident in the rising import of railway wheels, ignoring repeated promises to translate demand into an opportunity for Make in India. The blame should go squarely on the lack of planning and delay in structural reforms. The Research Designs and Standards Organization RDSO, which approves railway procurement, creates more hurdles for vendors than ensuring quick supplies. The government is pursuing a multi-billion-dollar makeover of Indian railways. From the strengthening of tracks and energy transition to introduction of semi-high-speed Vande Bharat trains, there are many facets to it. The introduction of new passenger coaches and wagons enhanced the demand for rolling stock. However, the second largest steelmaking nation in the world, with a long history in forging, did not create domestic capacity. Wheels and axles are not only imported from low-cost destinations like China or Malaysia, but also from developed Europe and even the US to meet the demand-supply gap. This is surprising considering wheel making is no rocket science. It requires forging and machining and is high employment generating activity. There have been plenty of reports over the last 2 years about the government's plan to step up domestic supplies. Some say the state sector would take the lead in rolling stock manufacturing. Some promised production-linked incentives for the sector. In the end, however, it is that same old story. Quote, railways may step up wheels imports as local supplies slip, unquote. The Economic Times reported on October 5, 2023. The state-owned Steel Authority of India Limited or SAIL and the Rashtriya Ispat Nigam Limited or RINL failed to live up to their promises. SAIL was given a lesser target and they are lagging to supply that. RINL's wheel plant at Raebareli in Uttar Pradesh is an utter failure. The benefit will go mostly to the manufacturers in China. Import is not necessarily bad. In the current context, it is helping faster implementation of railway modernization projects. However, the question remains if the domestic procurement plan is failing by design or accident. India has seen many such failures in the past. Part of the benefits of the thermal power capacity expansion drive by the Manmohan Singh government went to Chinese gear makers. This was largely because India's state-owned Bharat Heavy Electricals was slow in capacity augmentation and delivery. By the time private capacities came in India, the boom was over. The Manmohan Singh government trusted a domestic content requirement clause to ensure local procurement of solar power equipment. The Modi government announced the 100 gigawatt solar plan in 2015 without a change in strategy. The clause was challenged by the US and the World Trade Organization ruled against India in 2016. Chinese gear makers took full advantage of this situation. Government is now trying to create an ecosystem for domestic solar gear manufacturing through solar PLI. The failure in wheel and manufacturing has something more than that. During the colonial days, wheel manufacturing was left to the private sector. Typical to its socialist past, the responsibility went to the state sector in independent India. Till the 1970s, SAIL's Durgapur plant was practically the sole supplier of wheels, meeting barely half the demand. The other half was imported. To fill up the gap, Railways had set up its own rail wheel factory or RWF in Bengaluru in 1980. The following days saw RWF trying to corner maximum order and SAIL was not showing much intent to add capacities. The story took another turn in 2013 when the UPA government literally forced Vizag Steel to invest in a wheel factory in Sonia Gandhi's Lok Sabha constituency, Raebareli. RINL had completed setting up the Raebareli facility at rupees 1680 crore in 2021. But the company is reeling under heavy losses due to a mismanaged capacity expansion project at the steel plant in Vizag. As things stand today, Vizag Steel or RINL is facing working capital constraints. Both the steel plant and the wheel facility are on the block. Disinvestment is delayed due to political reasons. And the more disinvestment will be delayed, the more production will suffer. The government is now trying to rope in private sector in wheel manufacturing. However, the success of any such plan will depend on deep reforms in the Indian Railways and its infamous RDSO. Railways is a highly monopolistic organization that is far from business friendly and has grounded many reform attempts of successive governments, including those initiated by the Modi government. Left to them, there is no escape from imports. In July 2020, the Ministry of Railways invited pre-qualification bids from private players to own and operate 151 modern trains in 109 pairs of routes for 35 years. It was a grand attempt to ensure private participation in the loss-making passenger traffic. However, the railways took a year to close the pre-bid. The terms were drafted in a manner that all private majors stayed away. The initiative failed. Thank you for listening to Perspective. If you like this episode, please share and subscribe. See you next week. फिर मिलेंगे.